especially because sometimes it comes out nowhere near what the speaker was meaning to have heard. So that's really important.
All right, I have put us live on YouTube, and I will be starting our webinar in just a few seconds. I'm now starting our webinar, and then I will let you know as soon as we are live on HHTV.
Fuck up that.
We are now live on HHTV. You may begin.
Greetings, welcome. Welcome to the Residents Council meeting of November 16, 2021. I am Peter Shapiro, the president of the council. I'm glad that everybody's here with us. We have a lot of good news to report today. So I will now call the meeting to order, but I'll first want to get my PowerPoint ready for the next group. Okay, the meeting will come to order, and we start with the procedures that we need to implement each time. And first up is Connie Hellyer, our secretary. Connie, would you please present the minutes of the October meeting for approval by the council?
Yes, the minutes of the October meeting have been circulated among the council members, corrected, revised, and are now being submitted for your approval. I should add that residents who are curious about the minutes can find them in the binders in the library.
Excellent. Okay, may I have a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
Any second? Second. Okay, can I have a second? Do you have to unmute if you second?
Second.
Okay, thank you very much. All in favor, raise your hands, and if you have your mics on, you can say yes. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The October minutes are approved. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. You do an awesome job every time. And next up, we move to finances. Diane Tinker, our treasurer, would you please present the October financial report?
It was a very good month financially. As you see, our income was $7,370. Expenses were low, $2,655. So we had a net income in October of $4,715. Our year-to-date figures for the first 7 months of the year then are income $43,023, expenses of $34,000, $1,168 for a net income year-to-date $8,855.
Okay, very, very good, Diane. Thank you very much, and good work in the Monday market. We'll hear a little bit more about that in detail in a moment. Right now, it is a distinct pleasure to introduce our executive report, Mike Ostrom, with the Horizon House Executive Report.
Great, thank you, Peter. Bunch of things to report today. One is I hope everyone enjoyed the Halloween party. It was a lot of fun to see everyone get dressed up and to be able to kind of parade through. It's just a fun event. I saw a lot of happy faces, and I hope that that was something that everyone enjoyed. We last Thursday, we had the philanthropy department put on the Heritage Society dinner, which was a really terrific event. That is for people who have included Horizon House in their estate planning and their wills, or have made donations of $10,000 or more. There's about 100 members. It was started in 2004, and it was well attended. And I think it's terrific to see so many people who want to support the mission and vision of Horizon House to be both a resident-driven community and also to sustain us as a broad socioeconomically diverse community. So it went well, and was good food put on by our food service team. So those that attended really had a good time. I want to mention that each year we have our bond rating reviewed. There are many things that go into creating that. We are in a very elite group of communities around the country that has an actual bond rating. Of the roughly 2,000 life plan communities or continuing retirement communities to have a bond rating. And our rating was initiated a few years ago when we went out for our first bond financing in 2018. And we've been rated a BBB+, and that's what we have maintained now over the last several years. So of the 2,000 CCRCs, only about 5% of them have a bond rating at all, and even fewer of them, less than 100, have bond ratings anywhere near the BBB+. And this was in light of the fact that, we do have a master planning campaign or projects going on, which consumes a lot of our cash. So we were able to maintain that rating even despite that. So that was a very big positive for us. I also want to mention that we will be giving staff bonuses, and we will be announcing that today at our all-staff meeting. We want to recognize how hard our staff has worked and under difficult circumstances again this year. Mostly because of staffing shortages. We've put a lot on the backs of our staff to step up and take extra shifts. And it's not because we want to, it's because we haven't had the opportunity to hire people to alleviate that staffing pressure. So staff will be getting bonuses that will be significant, upwards of, for full-time workers, upwards of $1,000. That is not insignificant. And when combined with what the residents fund has done each year, this is probably going to be a really strong year for our staff, and we're happy for that. Many of you may have noticed, we had our great shakeout, which is every year we go through a drill to kind of understand how best to prepare for an earthquake. And we learn something every time. Sometimes it seems a little bit, mundane and pedestrian. You hear the announcements and you kind of wonder what we're doing. But we have lots of staff that do join and don't know the procedures. And we want to make sure that everyone is on top of it so that in the event we ever had a disaster that we needed to tend to, that you would feel confident that we know what we're doing. And each year it gets a little bit better. And this was yet a good, successful practice. And we learned a few things and we confirmed a few things. Campus security is always going to be top of the list. We've had some bizarre situations, as we've talked about here recently. People driving through the garage doors and just, brazen activity. I mean, you just have to shake your head and say, what's it going to take? Unfortunately, what it's going to take is, continued vigilance towards watching for anyone who comes into the building who's not supposed to be here. And it's difficult because we can't really ask, residents to be, doing citizens arrests here. We don't need anyone to be putting themselves in harm's way. But if you do see people coming in after you walk in the building and you're not sure who they are, let somebody know and just say, hey, somebody followed me in, not really sure who it is, wasn't in a position to say or do anything, but just thought you ought to know. And then we can follow up from there. We have to balance between creating a TSA-like experience where everybody's got to take their shoes off when they come in and go through the pat down versus giving people the freedom to come and go. And sometimes it's a fine line. The Methuen presentation that took place on the 25th of October is accessible for you to view if you didn't see it or you want to, kind of reconfirm some of your thoughts about it. It's on HH Connect and in the leadership corner box. So if you're interested, go there and replay it so you can recall what were the things that were talked about. We'll be talking more about it, but if you would like to get up to speed on what we initially presented, that's the place to go. Last week, we had our joint finance and board of trustees meeting. This is the one where the two groups come together to talk through the budget. Christy presented the budget, the issues and challenges behind the budget. And, we always have a good rigorous debate about the issues and how we're handling things. And this was one of those times again. But it was, a successful conversation. And now the product of that work goes to the board on this Thursday, November 18th, and that's where we vote on accepting the 2022 budget. So we'll be doing that, and then we will be out communicating with residents about not only the budget, but fee increases and so on once it's all approved. Many of you had a chance to participate in the in-person small group sessions, which I think are just a terrific way to see one another and to not just have everything on Zoom. Yeah, we got to wear our masks, but we saw 95% of you, and that was good. We could still tell that people were engaged and were plugged in, and it's a reassurance to us when residents are able to ask questions in person on the fly, and we do our best to answer them. And by all accounts, I think that's what we were able to do. We left a fair amount of time, a good half hour in each of those sessions for resident questions. So we don't fill everything up with news you might not want to use, but stuff that, matters to you and you can ask your questions. So I encourage you to participate those in the future. They're another way in which we communicate around here. The mask reminder, you just got to keep wearing your mask. We all kind of want to forget, sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously, but nonetheless, we got to be vigilant until it's time to not be vigilant. Whenever that is, we don't know. Let's see, the CEO monthly report will come out at the end of the month. And that's, as you know, it's just an update from my perspective, as well as the financial perspective and bright spots. It's another piece of communication that we want to make sure that residents have a chance to view. They don't do that in a lot of communities, and we take great pride in being able to share that with residents. And I think the last thing on my list here is to mention that we'll have our next fireside chat, which is a November-December combination one on the 3rd, December 3rd at 10 a.m. And we look forward to seeing everybody at that and having, again, more in-person attendance so that we can kind of get back to some of the way we've been in the past and not have everything be on Zoom. That's it, Peter. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm mute. I was being a good boy. It's always great to welcome you to the resident council meeting to give those some informative reports. And I was particularly glad to hear about the 1-2 sequence that will greet the staff with a bonus at Thanksgiving time, and then a nice recognition from the Employee Recognition Fund for the December holidays. So that's really gratifying. Thanks very much for your participation in this meeting, Mike.
All right, thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye. So we move on to Monday Market, and we got a lot of Monday Market things to talk about. And first up are Cami Elbow and Susan Barish to give their monthly report.
Okay, so I've been looking back over our income records for the last year or two, and here's what I learned. When we first reopened after the long COVID shutdown, we were bringing in about $1,100 a week, which was way better than we expected. Only residents and employees were allowed to shop. starting at the end of this past September, residents were allowed to bring in guests, family and friends. And so they bring their kids, they bring their grandchildren, they bring their friends. And since then, our average has gone up to between $1,700 and $1,800 a week. So it makes a substantial difference being able to have guests, and we're absolutely thrilled about it. I think for November, it's going to be even better, and Susan will probably tell you part of the reason for that. Susan? You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Well, we had a very special event yesterday in the market. In the past, we've always had a style show and tea that was co-sponsored by the Monday Market and the dining room. And of course, we haven't been able to do that. However, per custom, we've always sort of set aside very special things, very unique things, clothing, handbags, scarves, and gift items that we would put out as a boutique and also display for during the style show. So we came upon this idea to just do a boutique in the market at this time of year, as people are starting to plan ahead for Christmas and other holidays. And we were not sure what to expect. I mean, we figured it would be well received, but we were absolutely overwhelmed. It was just incredible. And particularly the cashiering area, they were practically under the table and begged us not to do another boutique for 5 years. But the net result was quite amazing. And we brought in just an unheard amount of money. So that will be reflected. And everybody, I think, had a really good time. It was fun. It was so well attended. We even had a family from Australia visiting, and they were just over the moon with the things that they found. And we're also finding that people are getting a little nervous because of the supply chains and the slow deliveries. So the market has just become this go-to place. You can actually come into a store and find a great selection of things and walk away with a lot left in your pocketbook. So it's going to continue. It's not going to continue at that level, but we still have more to show you and more to present that will take us right up through the holidays. So definitely come and see the market.
Thank you. So Susan and Cammie, wonderful, wonderful reports, wonderful news. Okay, next up will be some thoughts about the Monday Market by Madge Hislop. But first, I'm going to exercise some presidential privilege and say a few words about Madge. Now, unless you're very, very new, you know Madge. And she is a friend to many. She's best friend to a lot. She is an exceptional leader in our community. She preceded me for 2 years. She had 2 years of the presidential position. And I had just entered into the Residence Council as secretary in 2019, the year before COVID. And that was Madge's last year. I had the great opportunity to just sit at her side during the meetings in Anderson Hall as secretary. And I didn't have to do too much during the course of the meeting except listen and take notes. And so I learned an awful lot. And then when all of a sudden I found out I was going to be president the next year, okay, how do I follow that act? Well, Madge was unstinting in her help during the month of December of 2019 to teach me as many ropes as I could possibly remember. And it was particularly amazing because she had a huge family from Singapore descend on her that period of time. So she's juggling the family, she's juggling this guy who needs whatever help she can give. And she's just been absolutely fantastic throughout. Since then, of course, I have from time to time tapped her knowledge about the culture of Horizon House and the culture of the Residence Council. Not asking her, Madge, what should I do? But things like, what have you done in the past on such an issue? Tell me about it on your term, on your predecessor's term. And that's been very, very helpful. So we would start these meetings. She would say, well, she's out of the chair. And she says, well, good afternoon, Mr. President. And I started to say, well, good afternoon, Madam Ex-President. And then I started to shorten it to good afternoon, Madam X, which had kind of a spy thriller connotation. I found kind of fun. Anyway, that's just me and my sense of humor. So now I'm going to turn it over to Madge for her comments. And take down the screen.
Oh, goodness, Peter, am I coming through?
Yes, perfect. Wonderful.
Holy moly, how do I follow that? Thank you for the kind comments. Many of them probably not needed or necessary. And hearing from Cammie and Susan about the wonderful progress of the market and the steps taking forward allows me to be the bringer of not the best news about the market. So good afternoon. I wish to share with you a concern for us as residents of Horizon House. For about 19 months, we have been wearing masks and saying, when we get back to normal. For us residents, normal at Horizon House has meant the Monday market. Many of us have become accustomed to time in our apartments, to our solitude. We're slowly moving out of our isolation into Horizon House as we knew it. Meetings are held without us sitting 6 feet apart. We can meet and eat in the dining room. Our lives are more normal. However, we are at a moment when the Monday market normal may not be sustained. The success of the Monday market has been taken for granted, and we can assume its success no longer. From the flea market under Helen Bottomley's direction to a new name, Monday Market, and new director Elizabeth Hoover, the market transformed into a boutique. Susan Barish and Cammie Elbow have maintained this high standard as co-directors. They've managed the inventory and dozens of volunteer resident workers. Their management provided a place of welcome and warmth and the possibility of finding a greeting card, piece of furniture, or a piece of whimsy for an especially good price. Monday Market is totally run by resident volunteers. Sorry about that. Just a moment.
That's my greatest dread. It's the phone ringing when it's my turn to talk.
And I didn't even think about that. I'll catch your call later. I'm on camera. There, we got rid of that in a hurry. Thank you for the pause.
No problem, no problem.
Monday Market is totally run by resident volunteers. We happily deposit slightly used items in the convenient carts, in the mailroom, and the North Tower. Many of us cruise the market on Monday to see what treasures we might purchase and to chat with acquaintances. Monday Market is the heartbeat of Residents Council. Residents Council is a totally separate nonprofit corporation. It is not financially related to Horizon House. The market provides the total budget for our committees and our activities to enrich our lives. We need to make certain the market provides the material means for every one of the 70 Residents Council discussion groups, committees, activities to exist. Every cent we spend at the market is used to support Residents Council. Our events, our speakers, our level pool table, our musical events, potting soil, films or movies, music for the OK Corral, new library books every month, flowers for our flower committee arrangers. Without Residents Council and the Monday Market, we would look like the usual retirement community with a management hired activities director. Jennifer Stucker has agreed to be a co-director for clothing. Those of us who know Jennifer know her and realize she is absolutely the correct person as a co-director. However, there is need for a second director. A few days ago, you received notice, actually a week and a half and a few days ago, notices about the wonderful aspects of being a volunteer at Monday Market in your mailroom cubbies, and there have been notices in the alert as well. Truly, people who work at the market share a special bond. They know they have made our special way of life at Horizon House possible. Please think about assuming the position of Monday Market co-director. Our way of life, our amazing enriched life here is dependent upon you doing so. You may have pondered possibly assuming this position. What's in it for you to assume this position? Work? Yes. Time? Indeed. Organizing? Of course. But knowing you are at the heartbeat of every cent spent by the 70 committees and activities organized by Residents Council, absolutely you are at the heartbeat. Your time, your work, it's the pivot point of our exceptional, our normal enriched lives. Please ponder no longer. Contact Marianne Anderson, Residents Council member. That's Marianne Anderson. She will share more information with you. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. We are checking in now with Horizon House on Seattle's First Hill. Now, they specialize in independent and assisted living along with memory support. I had a chance to talk with Cammie and Susan at their Monday Market shop and may have tried to convince them to adopt me.
So the Monday Market is an upscale nonprofit thrift shop within the Horizon House retirement community. And we sell all kinds of gently used items, which have all been donated by residents. And we have many, many departments.
We have furniture, we have books, we have jewelry, we have greeting cards, we have housewares, electronics, men's and women's clothing and accessories. It's a mini department store.
I love that. Sounds like so much fun. Susan, what role does the Monday Market play and how long have you been involved?
I've been involved with the market for about 7 years, and the past 3.5 years as a co-director with Cammie. The market is just like the heartbeat of Horizon House because we raise about $85,000 a year, and that money goes to fund all of the fun things we get to do here and educational things, all the performances that we get from music groups or theater groups, all of the political things, I mean, nonpartisan, but we have political forums where all the candidates come and debate. So it's a all-encompassing arm that funds all of these programs for Horizon House residents.
And it funds books in the library and the artwork on the walls and a lot of parties.
Tell me more about what it's like to run this.
Yeah, I handle all the clothing and all the accessories, and we get the donations, and then we, of course, have to screen these donations for any repairs or laundry or anything like that. We have features that we try to accommodate around holidays. And then, of course, there's all of the other administrative things.
So I'm more or less in charge of housewares and furniture, everything that's not clothing, which also includes artwork. Every once in a while, we have collectibles. We have about 40 to 50 volunteers, 10 or 15 or 20 who work behind the scenes. Everything that comes in gets certainly dusted, Susan said, cleaned and repaired and tested and polished.
It's also a place where our staff participate because our staff represent probably 30% of our customers.
What has the Monday market meant for the folks living at Horizon House? How important is it to everyone who works there?
It's the heartbeat of Horizon House. It really is. It's one activity that every single person in Horizon House participates in one way or another. Either they donate things, or they shop here, or they volunteer here. We have residents who live in assisted living who come down often with their caregiver every Monday to see the scene and to kind of be around people.
Susan, what's your favorite part of the market?
I would say the people. Sometimes residents come down and look for their own things, see what we priced it at. But it's the people. It's just a lot of fun.
Can anyone come shop there? Can I come? Because I have my eye on that pink thing behind you.
Unfortunately, in the olden days, we were very happy to have outsiders. Now, because of the pandemic, we've had to be very cautious. And so if you can be a relative of a person who lives here, then you are able to come in, but you have to be sponsored. But people should watch the Horizon House website because that will tell when the market is open for outsiders.
All right. Well, thanks to Cammie and Susan for chatting with us. It was so fun getting to know them. And I couldn't believe all the incredible things Horizon House had to offer. And if you want to learn more about Horizon House and their Monday market, just visit the website on your screen. We've also got all the info you need on New Day's website. Well, earlier this week, I spoke with WebMD's.
Well, that certainly shut me up. What else could I say except bravo, Monday market people, bravo, Madge, Cammie, Susan, and every one of the 50 card volunteers, or 50 more. Amazing, and we just need to be reminded how special it is, how unique it is, how gifted we are by the efforts of all these people and what it means to our community. Wow. So now, if I can get over that, it's going to be time in a second to put up the screen which says Employee Recognition Fund, Elizabeth Hoover. Let me say a few words about the fund and the work that goes into it. It's a very short drive, as you know, a month and a half. There's an incredible amount of work that gets done. It needs to be handled by volunteers, processing checks, sending thank you notes, recording the incomes, and so on and so forth. And all that has to be coordinated by somebody. And we have had the absolutely best person possible to be doing that this year. And it's my pleasure to turn it over to Elizabeth.
Well, folks, we've passed the finish line for this year's ERF drive. And I have the privilege of conveying a great big thank you to all of you who so generously contributed collectively. Now listen to this, $450,000 plus, and another $2,500 on the way from people's IRA accounts. And so this has been contributed, in recognition of the service of our employees over the past year. And importantly, we hope an encouragement for them to remain with us for the coming year as well. And of the 444 residents to whom letters of appeal were sent during this drive, 89% of those responded with donations. Now, a party's planned for December 9th for the purpose of distributing those gift checks to the employees on your behalf. And you will hear a bit more about that a little bit later in the program. But many thanks to Judy Ostro for heading up that party team. And many thanks to the team which processed all those contributions that came in from you residents. And those people are Diane Tinker, Marion Mura, Nancy McReynolds, Carol Burkhart, and Madge Islip. Well, surely it's rewarding an experience for all of us who've participated in this meaningful opportunity, because we've all been in it together, right?
Well, that is fantastic news. My thanks join yours to the folks who made it happen, to the residents who have been so generous and whose generosity is both in spirit as well as in cash. Both are important. And there's an opportunity to recognize the love that we have for our employees by this means. We're going to move now to a few words about the recognition party. It's not the grand affair it used to be pre-COVID. We're going to get back to that real soon, right? Well, we're going to have the family, the kiddos, we're going to have the face painting, the animal balloons, all of Anderson Hall and the Fireside Lounge thriving with joy and happiness, and spilling over downstairs where the kids had their own games and so on and so forth. But now it has to be limited, and it's still a really good opportunity for us to recognize our employees. So Judy Ostro will tell us what's going to be happening. And you're on mute.
I unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
You're okay. Yes, perfect.
Okay. Well, as Peter explained, we all really miss that wonderful family party. But last year and again this year, we're having a very limited opportunity to thank our employees with a little party, a party light. But just to refresh what happens, the employees, it'll be on December 9th in the afternoon. First, the employees are greeted at the door of Anderson Hall, which has been nicely decorated, holiday decorated. And then the first stop is at a table where they will pick up a treat bag with some goodies in it. And then the next stop is to a table with homemade cookies from the residents of the Horizon House. And I hope all of you are considering what you're baking, because the more cookies, the better. Then they will proceed to the table where Elizabeth and her crew are giving out the checks. And then our dear Patty Flowers, once again, is going to have an offering of her own handmade jewelry, and other people are donating hand-knitted garments, hats and scarves. And so people can, the guests can pick something out as something for themselves or as a gift. And then their last stop is the popcorn machine, and then they exit. But we certainly hope next year we can get back to the family party. But we really enjoy this small opportunity, and the volunteers who had agreed to head up the various activities have just been wonderful. They are so efficient. Everything is pretty much in hand already. But so December 9th is going to be our semi-gala day. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy, for the great organizing and all your volunteers. It is a very nice event. We do not encourage people to come in to join, as sad as that is, unless they're working the party. But you can probably catch the employees on their way out or in if you're hanging around the lobby or so on. Thank them personally. It's really it's as good as we can get, and it's really good. It's really good given the limitations. Okay, well, it is November, right? And so that means election time. And we're going to start with the election results of the new resident council members. Now, you all know the answers on this, but this is the first meeting, a monthly meeting we've had since the election took place in October. And we have to get this information into the record. I turn the proceedings over to Audrey to give us the news, how it worked, and what the results are. Audrey? Where are you? Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I will start. We had 249 people voting in the election for the 5 new council members. That's about the same number as we had last year. One advantage of having the written ballots is that the people in the assisted living can also participate. They were able to meet the the candidates, and see them and hear them, and then vote. So that was great. Of the 249 residents, 246 voted accept, 3 voted reject, and 1 ballot contained no vote, but did contain a very strong chastisement for my writing. Wilton Fowler's name is Winston Fowler, for which I humbly apologize to Wilton. And luckily, there is no other resident named Fowler in our building. I am happy to announce our newly elected council members: Wilton Fowler, Deanna Nelson, Nancy Olson, Sally Wren, and Carol Roach. Thank you.
Well, congratulations all. This is really a good group, and don't let those 3 no votes rankle you. Yeah, a little bit of reading with the sunshine, right? No, this is a really excellent group of people to come in and continue the legacy of the Residents Council for all these years, and we're looking forward to complete success with their contributions. It is really great. So that election is then followed with the election of the next leadership team. And I'm fiddling around with my share screen a little bit. Pardon the pause. Okay. So the election takes place at the first meeting, according to the bylaws, the election of the officers for the following year. It takes place at the first meeting after the election of the new incoming council members who will take over for those who are departing. And the meeting, next meeting has been and was this year, the planning meeting a week ago, earlier this month. That was the first meeting following the election of the 5 new members. And everybody, continuing, departing, and new members participate in that process to vote, to be eligible for office, and so on. Except for those who are departing, they can vote, but they can't be eligible for office, thank goodness. Enough is enough of a good thing. So heading up that work of getting the election done and the great results that are there is under the aegis of the Special Nominating Committee. Susan Corning is chair, Audrey Whitecamp and Mary Ann Anderson are the other 2 members. And so they have come up with and will now present to you the people who were elected to be the 5 executive officers for the year 2022. So Susan.
Thanks, Peter. As Peter said, Audrey and Mary Ann and I, the committee, Special Nominating Committee, presented our nominations to the council on November 9th. And the council elected our proposed slate. We believe that we've achieved a balance of continuing officers as well as candidates who are new to their positions and will provide continuity for the future. And we're really excited about the group we proposed. For the position of president of the council, we're so pleased to welcome Elizabeth Hoover. Elizabeth doesn't really need an introduction since she's served Horizon House residents and committees in so many ways during the last 9 years. But we'd like to highlight just a few of her contributions. She's been director of the Monday Market, or was director of the Monday Market for 3 years before Cammie and Susan Barish. And in that position, an ex officio member of the Residents' Council. She's been coordinator of the Employee Recognition Fund, as you've seen this year, and was the assistant coordinator last year. She has chaired 2 welcoming committee mixers, and she's been an active volunteer in the Friend to Friend program, the Friendly Visitors to Assisted Living, and the Welcoming Committee for New Residents. For the position of Vice President for Administration, we're delighted to welcome Carol Roach. Carol is relatively new to Horizon House, having come in 2019 after a career in education. But we think she may already know more about us than any of the rest of us. She became interested in serving on the Residents' Council when she read Marianne Anderson's wonderful book-length collection of interviews with outgoing presidents of the Horizon House Residents' Councils over the last 10 or 15 years. The book documents the integrity, diligence, and colorful history of the council, as well as the distinctive style differences in the different presidents. She has a huge respect and appreciation for Horizon House and is honored to walk in the footsteps of others who preserved and enriched it over the generations. For the position of Vice President for Programs, we are so pleased to welcome May Gerstel. May and her husband have lived in Horizon House for nearly 3 years. May has served on the council for 1 year and is currently a coordinator of 9 active program committees. During her career, she held a number of jobs in communications and community relations for the city of Seattle. So she's comfortable coordinating multiple requests and responsibilities, although she says multitasking sure takes longer than it used to. She loves working with and being with Horizon House residents and is looking forward to next year when our meetings will hopefully be both fun and in person. For the position of secretary, we are delighted that Connie Hellyer has said yes to our entreaties to continue for a 2nd year. It's not every residents' council that can boast of a professional writer and editor as secretary. Connie's minutes have been informative and interesting, and we're especially grateful for her good-humored patience with our edits and suggestions. Also, it's not every residents' council that can rely on a professional accountant to serve as treasurer. We are so very pleased that Diane Tinker consented to serve 1 more year as treasurer of the council. Diane has guided us through this year of uncertain revenues and expenses and made it all seem easy. For the council as a whole, and for each of us program coordinators individually, she has been there with wise counsel and support. So, Mr. President, we are so pleased to welcome our new officers.
This is an outstanding group of people. I am so delighted. And thank you, Susan, and your committee for the great work. It's super. It's wonderful. What can I say? And I love the fact that we have 2 people who have been serving in their positions, continuing along, and they will provide additional support outside their narrow duties for the incoming people. So it's a wonderful combination of talents, strengths, and qualities that we're very happy to be able to recognize. And thank you for your service. You're going to have fun. I can promise you that. You have some other things too. I can promise you that. So now we'll have a traditional wrap up of the proceedings with what I have always come to enjoy more than just about anything that I do, is sitting here and listening now to the report from Audrey in the traditional spot of doing questions and answers. And now she has also a program announcement. So Audrey, I'm all ears.
Thanks, Peter. I have actually two questions today. The first one is, why are we still having Zoom meetings when other groups are having live meetings and presentations in Anderson Hall? The answer is that our meetings start at 2, and although officially over at 3, sometimes run a little over. The OK Corral, which used to meet in Sky Lounge, of necessity now meets in Anderson Hall at exactly 3 o'clock. Getting large groups of people in and out of the same space, especially when we might have to move a little furniture, sounded just too chaotic. The decision to go live for next year will be up to the new officers. But until then, we will continue to Zoom. And that means that next month's meeting will also be Zoomed. The second question, I think, is one that a lot of people here will realize they've heard things like this before. How many things can go wrong to sabotage a well-planned meeting? The answer, if you want to know, comes from Jean Durning, chair of the Environmental Committee, who can tell you what happened last week when she had a very, very excellent meeting planned. It had to do with a speaker from the Sightline Institute named Eric DePlace, and who he was going to speak about fighting fossil fuels in the Northwest. The meeting was scheduled for Anderson Hall at 7:30. At 5 o'clock, a resident noticed that the sign in the elevator said the meeting would be broadcast on 370, which was wrong, and did not even mention Anderson Hall. This resident contacted Jean about the misprint, and the two of them were able to make little paper patches with the right information and tape them up on the posters in every single elevator. But of course, only those who were riding the elevators after about 5:30 got the news. Luckily, Jean planned to have the program taped for a repeat. But here again, Horizon House's own bad luck gods prevailed, and the tape after the program was discovered to have no audio. If you missed the original program about fighting fossil fuels, which was really a good one, tune on HTV today at 3:45 to see a previously made tape of Eric DePlace's talk that was made on a different occasion. Were the HH demons really done? No. The date and time of today's repeat program were not included in the alert announcement. So when our meeting is adjourned in very few minutes, get up, stretch, go get a cup of coffee or a glass of something soothing, and sit back down in front of your TV to watch this really excellent program about fighting fuels. It's on channel 370 at 3:45. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Audrey. Fortunately, I have a VCR, so I can record that and go on to a Zoom meeting as well at the same time. So,
Don't trust it.
yes. Well, I think the hex is over for that particular series. I mean, gosh, it just illustrates what goes into making this place run, right? And so many moving pieces, and it's so important for all of us to be pitching in and doing our best. And 99.9% of the time, it comes out right. Okay, at least that's my calculation. So with that, I thank everybody for your attention, for your attendance, either virtually or otherwise, or a recording when it's replayed. And the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.